All right, we have Jazzi Mason here for Owlcast episode 10, and Jazzi is a second year at Foothill College, third year.
Technically first year.
First year?
Yeah, I've only been here. I've only been here for a year.
Should have asked you that before.
Yeah, no, it's okay. This is my third college though, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So you're doing a very interesting diet recently, right?
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, it's originated with Blankford's public writing project, as I'm sure many people are familiar with. And I created a list of personal action recommendations for decreasing your individual carbon footprint.
Okay.
And I decided that it would be too much for me to try to do all of it for 2 weeks, so I chose just one thing, the one thing I thought would be easiest, and for some reason it was veganism. So I chose to be
that would be the easiest.
Yeah, I thought,
oh
yeah.
my Lord.
Well,
I want to see this list.
Well, because it wouldn't cost me any money to like change anything in my house. Like I wouldn't really have to, consciously worry about my actions as much. At least I thought that going into it, that's what I thought it would be. But I'm already kind of pseudo-vegetarian because I don't eat a lot of meat in general, so I thought it would be a little bit easier, but I am missing a few things.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that seems like a pretty drastic change in your lifestyle.
Yeah, it's
Did you prepare for it beforehand? Like just buy all the materials that you needed
for
to
the
make
most
food?
part, yeah. So in addition to being vegan, I also have to do my best to buy organically and to buy as locally as possible. And so I'm trying really hard only to eat foods that were sourced in California at the very least. So I actually have a farm fresh vegetables, like fruit and vegetables subscription.
Oh, you used the website.
Yeah.
They were here on campus, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so
I actually signed up for that too. They sent me a box. Yeah.
Isn't it incredible?
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
I'm so happy about it because
Yeah.
I love fresh foods, but it's so hard for me to find time to do it.
That's actually perfect for what you're doing too.
Exactly. And so I just expanded what I ordered because my boyfriend's actually doing it with me.
Yeah.
And so now both of us are eating out of this box basically. And so I just loaded up on as locally and fresh as I could. And so I have a lot of food at home that I can eat. The problem has been finding food not at home that I can eat. So that's been probably the struggle.
Yeah, because oh my gosh. So this is like a box that comes to you, right? This farm fresh to you thing. And that's like a weekly box or like a monthly box?
So I have it set up for every 2 weeks. And the company is Farm Fresh to You. And I chose the traditional CSA box, which means that everything in the box is as close to you as possible. And so it's not just through California, but they really choose the farms that are
really
closest.
local farms. Okay.
Yeah, depending on what you choose to customize for your box.
Yeah.
And so they have different subscriptions. I had a small subscription for my first box, but for this one I went extra large.
Oh my gosh. And you're managing to finish all these things?
Yeah, and that's
weeks?
a great thing.
Wow.
Is one thing that I told him was a lot of food goes bad, a lot of fresh food goes bad in my house because I'm not there a lot.
Yeah.
And because it's so fresh when you get it, it actually lasts so much longer. So I still have vegetables from the first box that I got 2 weeks ago that's still, kicking basically.
Yeah.
And I can still eat it, which is amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Because I'm not wasting food,
that
which
was
is always
my
my
concern.
greatest fear.
Yeah, I actually signed up for it too because they were on campus so I just, they reeled me in with their spiel and I thought it was a cool business model.
Yeah.
But they sent me 10 pears or something because I put pears on the list and I just could not eat 10 pears within 2 weeks. So I had to cancel it.
I could eat that in 1 day.
I mean, yeah, you have to.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the only thing I can't eat. So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But yeah, that is crazy. And you've been doing this for a week so far?
No, I haven't even hit a week yet. So
oh my gosh.
I've only been doing it. Oh my God, is this day 3? I think this is. Wait, it might be day 4. It's day 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on day 4 of 2 weeks, and every day I do a video, just kind of talking about my experience.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get a little too deep, but it's easy some days, hard other days. The more time I have to prepare for my day, the easier it is. And when I don't prepare, I usually end up very hungry.
Yeah. So do you know a rough estimate of how much carbon I guess you're saving or your impact on the environment from doing this diet for 4 days?
Well, the research on it kind of varies. So, and it ranges because of not just meat products, but also dairy product. But generally, the numbers say something between like 35 and 51% of of like our harm to the environment is because of animal produced foods.
I've heard some of that. I didn't know it was that high though. That's actually ridiculous.
Like if everyone on the planet were just to be vegan.
Cows are really bad for the environment.
Oh my god,
right? The cow industry here.
Yeah, it's really bad, and I think there's a very limited number of slaughterhouses.
Yeah.
In the country, like period,
mm-hmm.
and so it's like these very small amounts of buildings that are like creating all of this waste.
Oh my gosh. And that's just from producing the meat, so the actual
that's just
mechanisms
from that's just from producing the meat, transporting the meat.
Transport,
and transporting, which is why like a part of my project is eating locally because it requires less transportation.
Yeah.
And then also fresh foods because it requires more energy to freeze foods than it does to keep fresh foods.
That's true. Wow, there's so many factors here that I just didn't really account for.
Yeah.
So for meat eaters out there, because I myself love to eat beef, but is there any way for us to limit? So like local foods, right? Seems like you would do that. But do you have like a game plan for people who don't want to do like the extreme like veganism too?
Yeah, and I mean like that's a plan for me, right? Because like
you're only doing this for a short amount of time.
I'm definitely not. I'm not going to be vegetarian for the rest of my life, or even especially not vegan for the rest of my life, because I love cheese. So like I'm a huge fan of cheese. I also love bacon. As terrible as
it's
it
like the opposite of vegan, but
I love bacon. Yeah, and I don't really eat a lot of meat, and so I guess that's like the easiest recommendation is really consider how much meat you're eating. Okay. There are a lot of cultures where meat is a special occasion, right? Or they only have meat once a week, whereas like in America we eat meat every single day.
Yeah.
And so just cutting down on your meat consumption would be incredible. Like if the entire population were to cut out meat for one day, that could have a drastic impact on the corporations, on, you know, like the environment, everything, just for one day. So imagine if you were able to cut it out for multiple days and what that could equal. And then of course, like if you can find, you know, like farmers markets that are like farmer fresh meats, where it's
like
not
that's
coming
a lot harder to find than like farmer fresh vegetables.
It is a lot harder to find. Like there are very few firms that are like that, and often the corporations try to shut them down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's like even though it's very meager competition, it makes them look bad because it's often a lot cleaner. And a lot better for you as well. So it's a lot healthier to eat meat that way.
Oh my gosh. That is great. And you're doing this for 2 weeks total, you said?
2 weeks total, yeah.
2 weeks total. How is it going so far? Would you say you're surviving?
Oh, yeah. Like, I'm not dead yet.
Is it enjoyable, or is it, like, a little bit of stress?
It's enjoyable because my food tastes really good.
I bet you feel, like, clean and you feel fresh.
Yeah, and actually, I feel like my body is going through, like, the first stages of detox right now. Because today, honestly, today is a really hard day for me. Today was... like started out really rough. It's still pretty rough. Like I feel like I'm detoxing. I'm really tired. But like I'm full after I eat. Yeah. You know, and so I'm, you know, burning clean energy. It's just my body's not used to, you know, cutting out a lot of this like gross stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure there's like a period of time you have to transition.
Day one, I pretty much ate junk food. Because most junk food is in fact vegan. Really? But it's just filled with chemicals.
Yeah.
And so I was like eating candy and chips, and I was like, this is not the point.
They actually do make a lot of vegan junk food. I think that's kind of the way for the companies to pitch it to like the average person too.
Yeah,
because my sister's
like,
vegan, so I see a lot of her snacks.
Buy this bag of chips because it's technically no meat product, and you know, like maybe one of those chemicals was derived from meat, but honestly, it's more likely that it was derived from corn. And corn is vegan, so...
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, segueing to a slightly different topic. But this is awesome. And keep me updated on if you survive the 2 weeks.
Yeah, if anyone's really interested in me surviving this 2 weeks, I am posting a video on my Facebook every single day. Jazzi Mason. I'm the only one, so...
Follow her, people. Follow her.
Find me on Facebook. I will friend you.
So you said before this that you've lived in many different places.
Yes.
So how many places in total before settling down in California? How long have you been here? So just over a year?
I'm not even settled. I've only been here for 2 years, which is actually pretty long.
In your book?
Yeah, it's really long.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I was born in Virginia. So I started in Virginia. I was born on a military base there. Both my parents were in the Navy.
Oh, okay.
And then we lived in Virginia while I was a toddler, but we also lived in Philly while I was a toddler because that's where most of my family's from originally. That's not where they live now, but And then my mom is originally from Portland, Oregon. So that's what I consider my hometown. I'm total hipster.
Portland's pretty sick.
Yeah, Portland's amazing.
They have good vegan food, too. I actually ate at a vegan place with a friend.
Vegan shopping malls. Like, it's insane.
Wow.
Yes.
They're very progressive, yeah.
They're extremely progressive. If it weren't for the rain, I probably never would have left. But I'm a sun, snob, so I need sunlight. And so from there, I actually moved back to Vegas because I lived there when I was younger.
Okay.
But I've lived in Vegas 3 times. I've lived in Sacramento twice.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like a mix of, like before 18 and after 18.
Okay.
And then I also lived in South Carolina twice.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So after I graduated from high school, it was my 3rd high school in Portland. I went to PSU and I absolutely hated it.
PSU?
Portland State.
Okay.
University,
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I freaking despise it.
That's a very big school too, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's a public school, so it's fairly big. It's right in the middle of downtown Portland.
Okay.
So it's a very metropolitan campus.
Yeah. Okay.
And I didn't like it though because I didn't. To be frank, I didn't really like my peers. So
yeah. No, dude. I have a similar experience.
Yeah. I felt like I felt like the maturity level was just kind of low for me. Yeah. And so I moved to back to Vegas to go to massage therapy school. So I'm technically a licensed massage therapist.
Whoa.
And was a massage therapist for a few years.
Yeah.
But I've been in a lot of car accidents too. So, it's really hard on the body.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to keep it going.
Yeah.
But after that, moved to South Carolina, moved back to Vegas because I mistakenly thought that I missed it. And I did not. I think I had a great 3 months, and then I spent the next 6 months that I was there watching Netflix alone in my bedroom. So
hey, sometimes you need to do that.
Right? Yeah.
Honestly,
No. It was...
Netflix is therapeutic. Not even gonna lie.
Yeah. It was I went through every single season of Game of Thrones during that time.
You like Game of Thrones? Okay.
Yeah.
My friend got me addicted to Game of Thrones.
I love Game of Thrones.
Season 7 is coming out in July.
I'm gonna be in Spain.
I'm gonna be in Asia too.
Right,
yeah,
I know. I'm gonna miss the whole thing, and it's gonna kill me.
They pushed it back to I think it was supposed to come out in April.
It's supposed to come out in April.
We could have had little viewing parties here.
I used to throw viewing parties.
Really?
Yeah, we used to grill, swim, and then watch Game of Thrones.
I want to do that. I've never watched an episode live yet. And I probably still won't.
Well, I have, because I have HBO Now.
HBO Go.
No, HBO Now is the subscription, so you just pay $10 a month and you can watch whatever you want whenever you want. But they air it at the same exact time.
Okay.
And I think honestly, if you're maybe they probably changed this, but previously when you were on the West Coast, you could watch it. Or when you were on the East Coast, you could watch it at the same time that the West Coast was happening because of the time change.
Oh.
So they would release it
3 hours
at the same time. It's probably fix that. Oh,
whoa.
But they actually air it at the same time. So if anyone's looking for a way to watch Game of Thrones and only Game of Thrones,
it's $10 a month. Is that
$10 a month? Yeah.
I need to do that. I moosh off my friend's account right now for HBO. Yeah, but it works.
Right?
I mean, most people.
One person pays and 5 people use it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh God, where were we?
Vegas.
Oh God, yeah. So we were in Vegas, and then I moved back to South Carolina to kind of connect with my dad.
Okay.
He lived on the East Coast for most of my life, so I didn't really have such a strong relationship with him. So I lived in South Carolina for, oh God, what was it? A year and a half, maybe. And then I've been out here for almost 2 years, which is insane to me because I haven't lived anywhere for that long since high school.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So that's interesting. So you've definitely moved around a lot. You see, just from meeting you this year, you seem like a very bubbly, outgoing person.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like you have a problem building out your social net in these new places. I know Foothill is kind of a transitionary school, so people come in, right? They're here for 2 years and then they head out.
Yeah.
So how would you say what are some ways that you just you get to a new place and you just hit the ground running? It seems like you can do that. Is that you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, definitely. I consider myself to be adaptable. And it's definitely a self-assuredness that I have.
Yeah.
And that, that didn't come easy, right? I was teased for being who I am, like most people when they're little. And I made the decision when I was 12 that I was just not going to care what people thought.
Dude, you were mature. A 12-year-old making a decision? Oh my gosh, that's so good. Yeah.
I was really teased. And I was teased for the stupidest thing. I was teased for being smart. So, yeah, I mean, little kids are vicious.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, so, I'm able to, go into these, new situations and really just not really care what people think about me. Because, well, they don't pay my bills. You know, like, I don't live with them. Most of them I will never see again. So why do I care what they think of me?
Yeah.
And if they think negatively of me, obviously I don't want them in my life. So that helps a lot.
That is a great mindset to have. Props to you.
Thanks. I also just have the mentality that, like, when you go into a place, like, you aren't the place. And so you kind of just have to, like, be aware of your surroundings. I tend to watch at first and kind of see, like, what is the vibe, you know, like, how can I integrate what I am into what is already here? And so you're not, like, coming in and, like, trying to, like, colonize like a new place. You're really trying to integrate versus
finding
taking
your role
over.
in it.
Exactly. And I work really hard at not, like, changing face, right? So I work really hard at being who I am in every situation.
That's so important, I think.
It's really hard.
That's a big struggle that a lot of people... I know I'm still working on that. Yeah.
And so I make sure that, like, I'm being some authentic form of myself in every situation.
Yeah.
And so you just have to decide what authentic form of you is appropriate for, you know, where you are in the moment.
That's a really good point that you bring up, actually. Yeah, it's like, there's different forms. I think... You know, I've had some, like, everyone growing up, or, you know, you're going to question, like, your identity, and you're going to question, like, authenticity, but I totally feel you. When you're out of character, sometimes, first of all, that's, like, mentally draining for me. If I'm, like, trying to be out of character.
Yeah, you're, like, trying to force yourself to be something you're not, and you're like, this feels so weird.
It feels weird, and you feel, like, bad about it, and it's just, like, kind of negative emotions. But I think also just being aware that it's okay sometimes to be in a different form of yourself. Like, you don't always have to be like this, you know, if you're, like, really extroverted all the time. You know, sometimes you're not going to feel good. And I think you could get frustrated if you, like, you know, you just want to stay and watch Netflix one night, right? Yeah. I definitely find myself doing that. Like, oh, I should be out with my friends. Like, this is not who I am.
I really just want to chill right here on my couch. Yeah. I definitely think that's... It's definitely... It can be hard. Like, when I lived in South Carolina is...
That's like the South, right? That's like not really East Coast.
The South is very, very different from a lot of places. Just like Silicon Valley is like a completely different animal. Dude. Oh my God, it is completely like I've lived in all of these very extremely different places. Yeah. And I still had like culture shock when I got here. Yeah. But South Carolina is like its own microcosm. And I went to South Carolina, and all of my friends that like are still my friends, I was able to, you know, have friendships. They saw me as kind of like this adventurous city girl. And like, I'm being completely serious. The words city girl are used. Yeah. And that just how like educated I was and how experienced I was. And that was like something very extreme to them. Yeah. And so to make them comfortable, I didn't overplay that. You know, like I really downplayed that part of me because I knew that like a lot of people that I was hanging out with had never even left the city, let alone the state. And you kind of just have to like learn to relate your experiences to them. Know when they think it's cool and know when they don't. Yeah. You know? And being very different was sometimes really fun for them. Yeah. But then other times they kind of wanted me. They wanted me to fit in.
That's a really good piece of advice. I think. Yeah. Especially in this, at least for and like I grew up in this area. It definitely feels like a bubble. I haven't been out that much. I've lived in the South a little bit, but I lived in Houston, Texas for 2 years, which honestly. Probably very different than South Carolina. It's actually Houston is a very progressive city.
Yeah, it is.
And it's a very diverse city too. And then I lived in Mobile, Alabama, which is definitely the South. But that
Alabama's.
That was like a long time ago. Yeah, and I'm half Asian. My mom actually experienced like a ton of racism when we lived there. Like she couldn't find a job. She just could not find a job, and a lot of our neighbors like would give her the cold shoulder and stuff. But yeah, growing up, I moved here in like 5th grade, and it's like a bubble. I need to get out, and I need to experience these things. But I think I think seeing yourself in different environments totally gives you like a sounding board for like you to get to know yourself better too. Like just learn about your identity, becoming self-aware.
You're able to like really build on who you are if you're more willing to. You know, like going to the South, like obviously I had no experience really living in the South. And now I'm a huge fan of karaoke, country music, and beer. You know, like I can fit in, you know, like in those situations. Like when you see those people like playing country music, wearing, you know, star-spangled bannered swim trunks and playing beer pong with,
you
know, like cowboy hats on their head. Like, I can totally integrate in that kind of situation. And it's because I was willing to learn the environment. I think that's honestly the most important thing is you have to be willing to like learn about it.
Completely agree.
Instead of just deciding you don't like it.
Yeah, it's so easy to just judge right away, like jump to conclusions and be like, that's not me. And then just not even put the effort in. It closes off tons of opportunities. It seems like you're a very mature person. Yeah, you seem so open-minded. Like you just want to go into these different situations.
Yeah.
And I think that comes with practice too. I mean, you've moved around. You've probably had to do this like many times, right?
Yeah.
Like different groups of people, see how you fit in, see how you can adapt to.
Well, and it's like also like you can live a life of, like you can live an existence where you decide that you don't like things and, you know, like you can live a negative existence where you want to hate and, you know, that's not a lot of fun. So if like you really think about it and you try to change that, then you're going to have a better life in general. Like you mentioned racism, you know, like my parents experienced racism.
Yeah.
My mom was a white woman pregnant by a black man, and there were times like even in 1990, you know, that my mom wouldn't get served because she was with a black man and she was pregnant with a black man's, you know, child. And that was not that long ago. That was 25 years ago. And so it's still very present. And, you know, when I lived in South Carolina, I was also, you know, dating a white man. And, you know, to my face, everybody was really nice, but not everybody in private really thought that it was a good idea that, you know, this white man was dating even a half black person. But, you know, being half black, I'm seen as black. So,
especially in those areas.
So I mean, it still exists, and I could have been very angry about it, but instead I was able to really explore their perspective, and I learned a lot more about that perspective. I spend a lot less time being angry because I'm willing to kind of like ask questions like, why do you see it that way? Why is it such a big deal to you? And I think that's really how you're able to, you know, find peace within all of the, you know, mess that's happening in the world, in our country. You know, like you have to be willing to understand another perspective. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to like it. You can still hate it and still be mad.
Just open to understanding.
Yeah, just open to understanding new things, because even in our country, there are a lot of different understandings for a lot of different people.
That's the key to fixing them too. Or maybe not fixing, but changing these perspectives.
Yeah, definitely.
And like, you know, having people see eye to eye better. Exactly.
Yeah, I think you don't get anywhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of these like, there's obviously social justice is like a huge facet of people's lives here.
Yeah.
And I think the most effective protests, the most effective demonstrations are the ones where it's civilized, where they're trying to understand the other perspective and then come to some sort of compromise or, you know, make them understand. It's not like, you're not jumping to violence right away.
It's not like a battering ram.
You're still like open-minded.
Yeah, definitely. And like moving here, honestly, I'm an entirely different person than I was 2 years ago. And I was kind of building myself from the ground up then. But this environment is a great place to grow. But you do need to get out, right? Like I definitely wouldn't be as interested in social justice as I am now had I not moved here, because it's not a concern in a lot of places I've lived before at all. And that is a great influence, is that this area is so focused on social justice. And you're right, like that is a good thing to learn. And I agree that being quiet is not the option, but being violent is also not.
Yeah, you got to find the happy medium.
Yeah, you got to have it. Just be loud.
You got to have
You're allowed to be
head.
loud. Just be loud.
Yeah, exactly.
Be loud as possible.
Yeah, no, definitely. You definitely need pushback on these things, or else it's gonna be bad. But what do you think of, so you've moved, do you see yourself like ever like settling down and like becoming comfortable?
Definitely. I'm not a places person. I'm a people person.
Okay.
So I see homes and people. And so like it's likely that I'll probably never go back to Portland. Because, you know, I have a few best friends there and I will always visit them, but I don't have a home there. You know, like it's not the same. I love South Carolina. I think it's beautiful. And my dad is there. My dad owns a home there. He's, you know, put roots down in our tiny little Rock Hill town. But I also don't really think that the South embodies who I am anymore. And I'm not ready to settle down. You know, I like exploring cities. I've going to be living in Spain for 2 months, working in Spain for 2 months, you know, and so I'm really trying to push my comfort zone. Like, I'm comfortable with moving all over the country, but now I need to be comfortable.
Get out of there.
I need to get out of the country.
Oh my gosh. You're on that level. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pushing myself to be on that level.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see myself settling down. Honestly, it's like settling down is going to be with a person. It's going to be with a person.
Yeah.
Because that's how I see, you know, being in one place. And I'm very fortunate that, you know, the person that I'm with now has a very similar childhood to me, where he moved around a lot.
Yeah.
And so both of us are very comfortable with, you know, changing our surroundings. And so I don't have to worry about settling down immediately in one place. But it could very well be California, just because it does kind of match my ideals. Which is interesting, because before I moved to California, I swore that I would never move back to California, and here I am.
Oh my, you really don't know what's gonna happen.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes, that's cool that you're constantly like pushing your comfort zone. That's something I've been like pretty fascinated about it.
Yeah.
Because here it's so easy to get comfortable, because it's a very safe place. It's a great place to grow, like you mentioned. But you could totally just live here for the rest of your life and, you know, have a very, you know, great life. Like it would be a happy place. Like it's a decent place to live for sure.
Definitely.
But yeah, like, do you ever notice yourself like becoming too comfortable and saying, you know, I got to do something I got to push my limits. I got to do something drastic.
Definitely. And sometimes that's what leads to like me moving. It's like, what are you doing right now? Like, you're getting way too comfortable. And I actually do themes for my years.
Okay.
So last year was honesty with self and others, and so I was just brutally honest about what I wanted. And you know, when I spoke to people, who I was, like, it was really grueling. This year is shattering the comfort zone. So that is literally the theme for the year, and that is how I'm living. Year. Yeah, that's how I'm living my life, which is why, like, I applied to the university that I want to go to early, or way earlier than I thought I was going to, because I was like, you're never going to be ready if you keep telling yourself you're never going to be ready. And why I bought a plane ticket to Spain.
That's awesome. I respect that so much. That's something I really want to do too. Themes for your years. That's how long have you been doing that for?
I've only been doing it for 2 years, and it was actually something that I heard about in like a big coaching conference, like a self-coaching, business coaching conference, and it was with this other person was doing it as well, and she said, like, she sits down with her entire family and they decide together what their theme for the year was, and I think hers at the time was like bold moves and no regrets. And it led to her family opening a restaurant together. I think they have their own farm together as well. So it's just like huge expansion in their family.
That's awesome.
By living through that theme. And I saw really great results last year. And so I was like, I'm going to do this again. And it seemed like the theme itself was developing, because it was needed. I needed to make sure I didn't get comfortable. I mean, 2 years in one place. What is that?
Oh my God.
Getting way too comfortable here.
Oh my Lord. Yeah. No, I think that's a great idea. I think I might start doing that. Yeah, I think it's important it helps a lot if you have like that vision or that direction, especially, you know, in your worst time, like when you're feeling the lowest. I've noticed that, like, falling back on something that I know I can stick to. Yeah. Because sometimes, like, it's easy to lose yourself when you're feeling bad, right? Yeah. When you're in a new place, when you know, maybe you feel alone or something. So having that vision or having that theme, I think that seems like really beneficial.
Well, it's also why I like put like a ban on applying to California colleges when I was looking at colleges.
For the comfort zone thing.
Yeah,
right?
because
just stay in line with that theme.
I'm not gonna. It seems, and everybody, you know, has a right to their own choice, but it seems like very frequently the people that grew up in California, they don't want to leave California. Yeah. And there are a lot of great schools. That's me, dude. That's the story of my life right now. It's bad. And there are a lot of great schools in California. There really are, and they're fabulous schools. Yeah. But when all you know is California, what else are you missing out on? Like, what else could you be learning that you're not by staying in California? And I knew that, like, I have the option of coming back to California, so I didn't want to spend the next 2 to 3 years at a school in California, because it wouldn't be adding anything new to my repertoire. Yeah. You know, like, it wouldn't be adding new experience to this plethora of experience that I'm trying to create for myself at this point.
That's a great mindset. I totally fall victim to that. I went to the school on the East Coast right after high school. Yeah. I went to Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh, so far away from home. Yeah, very far. But yeah, as soon as I got there, it's like, oh my gosh, why did I leave California? And it didn't end up working out. I wasn't really ready to go to college. The environment wasn't great.
Yeah.
So I came back and I'm doing this now, and then I'm going to LA. So I'm staying in California, but I'm getting a little slowly out of my comfort zone, location-wise.
Slow.
Yeah, it's weird.
You know,
California's
a few times.
It's so nice. I don't know. I literally remember flying back from CMU and like crossing the border and just seeing like the Sierras and just being like, oh my God. Like I just felt so much better. It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing. It was just like this gut feeling that like this is like my home, but like you said, I need to push that boundary a bit. I mean,
not everybody has to. Right?
Yeah.
Like I have the benefit of my childhood literally being an embodiment of no comfort zone. You know, it's like when I got comfortable, things would change, things would shift.
Mm-hmm.
And so I rarely got comfortable.
Yeah.
And so when I feel myself getting comfortable, it's almost like the reverse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the panic sets in when I feel myself getting comfortable because I know it's not my norm.
Yeah.
So I'm not like most people in the fact that when they get comfortable, they want to be stationary. Because like when I get comfortable, I kind of freak out.
No, I feel you too. Actually, I'm slowly moving towards that mindset, and that's why I know that I need to get out. That's why I didn't apply to any schools in this area, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna get out of the Bay Area to start, and then see if I can push that a little bit and keep going.
I mean, it's also a lot of fun. Like when you're just like trying new things, like you are just. It's just extremely different. It's extremely fun.
Yeah.
And it's way more fun to be had when you're like not doing the same exact thing every day.
I totally agree. I think so you're applying to this school in New York, right?
I am applying.
No one has really heard of it in Columbia and stuff, but I think it sounds like this is going to be like have you lived in New York before?
I have never lived in New York before, but it is on my bucket list. So I figured the best way to do it was to do it during school.
It's happening in New York. Yeah. Like it's definitely, I think this is going to be like, it sounds like it's going to be a good time for you. Like accumulation of all these adventures and stuff. Oh.
I love food.
I'm a food person too.
I'm a total foodie.
Vegan, dude.
The whole vegan thing.
Yeah. There you go. Oh my gosh.
My whole world goes like centered around food.
That's your theme. That's your life theme. Food. And then
and honestly, like the theme that I went through last year, honesty with myself, was what took me back to my childhood dreams. And honestly, like I'm gonna encourage everybody to do this because it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I went back to like what I really wanted when I was a little girl, because I figured that even though I didn't know the implications of all of that, it came from a really honest and
very genuine.
Very
when you're
genuine
small, you're not thinking about
like uncontaminated place. So I went back to my childhood dreams, and that's what led me back to school. Literally led me, like I would not be here had I not done that. And it's what led me to aspiring to this incredible school, because it was a part of those childhood dreams. And I'm so happy, like everything I'm doing, I am extremely happy about. And I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I've got a lot on my plate, but I love everything I do every single day. And it's because I went back to that, very like pure thought process of what did I want when, there was nothing else to worry about.
No other external factors that were like tainting that. That's actually a really good thing. I need to try a lot of these things. I love doing this podcast because I learn all these different life hacks that people have and different mindsets and stuff. It's awesome. I totally agree. I think getting in touch with that, like that's when you're a kid, like you're the most authentic stuff. You're not caring about what other people do. You're just, doing whatever. You're throwing like applesauce and like doing random stuff.
You're like, I want to throw applesauce right now.
So I'm gonna do it. Oh my gosh. That is so cool. What are you studying, or what are you planning on studying?
So my major is international relations.
Okay, that's I think that's perfect.
Well, which is why, like, I'm honestly, like, when I was younger, I hated politics and I hated history, and now it is my ish, man. Like, I am so into it. So this is probably one of the biggest surprises of my life. That and doing well in statistics. And now, like, I'm totally
doing well. It took me a while, but I just got it. That's funny. Okay. I was like, well, wait a second.
Which is another part of, like, it was just part of the reason that I'm, like, pushing myself to go to Spain and really, I guess, live in these areas. So I have a true understanding of the culture. Because I don't think that you can really talk about it unless you experience it, unless you try to know it in the best way possible. So
I totally agree.
And that's why I push that, and it's like very unimpressive that like the girl who's only been out of the country once wants to major in international relations. Oh. I didn't even have a passport until December of this past year.
Really?
Yeah. I never needed it, right? Yeah. And I kind of like pushed myself.
I have a feeling that you're gonna be getting out of the country a lot after this.
Yeah,
it seems like you're like the track. Yeah, and you seem like that you're like the go-getter. You'll do it. Yeah. Where in Spain are you going?
I'm going to Fuengirola, which is it's like a small beach town.
Yeah.
About 20 minutes outside of Malaga.
Okay.
So it's on the coast of Spain, and it's going to be awful. Really nice. It's going to be
Is that the Mediterranean side?
Yeah, 100% Mediterranean. Yeah. My host family was like, we pretty much
nice
only eat Mediterranean food. It's going to be about 80 degrees every single day. So if you don't like the heat, like it's going to be a little hard. I'm like, I'm fine.
That's cool that you're in a small town too.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a good experience. I've heard Malaga's like got some crazy party scenes.
Like, and I'm going to be like 20 minutes away. And like,
so
honestly,
you have the option if you need.
This gig is like the worst. I'm just I just can't believe it.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be an au pair. So I'm going to be a live-in nanny for 2 kids that are the same age as kids that I work with now. Yeah. And the mom was like, oh yeah, like you're not going to have to worry about cooking. You're not going to have to worry about cleaning. Yeah. All you have to do is like wake up late, probably around 10 or 11, go to the beach or go to the pool with the kids. And then when we get back around 3:30 or 4, like you have the rest of the day to yourself.
Oh my gosh. Are you go to the beach with the kids? That sounds ideal.
Every day
that's your work right there.
That's
the
my
beach.
job
Yeah.
To make sure that the kids are having fun, and that means going swimming.
Are you or do you have to teach them English or anything like that? Or they're already learning?
So the great thing is like my Spanish is terrible. I took I took 3 years of Spanish, and it's totally awful. Yeah. But the kids actually go to an English school, and so they're working on their English, and so they're like, that's totally fine. Mm-hmm. Like they can teach you Spanish, and you can work on their English with them. And they're actually extremely fluent in English, which is incredible because right now they're behind. And to them they're behind, but they're extremely advanced in their English, especially being native Spanish speakers. And the dad doesn't speak English at all either. Yeah. And so they still speak Spanish when they go home, but they're very advanced.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, that's gonna make it easier.
Yeah,
and so you're trying to learn Spanish as well as you can while you're there too.
I know enough to like be able to pick up on it. Like I've never been trained to speak Spanish, and so that's my real struggle.
Taking Spanish in school doesn't really teach you to speak it.
It
teaches you to take tests and like conjugate verbs and stuff, but it's like a totally different thought process. I found that
100%.
I took like 4 years of Spanish. Coming out of that, I was terrible. But
I don't know anything.
Exactly. And then I went on some school trip to Guatemala for like 7 or 8 days, and I learned like more Spanish than that. Like I got way better at speaking in that like 7 days than like 3 years, 4 years. Like
yeah,
it was wild. I think that's the best way. Just like immerse yourself.
Yeah, and that's like that's the goal. Is like I'm definitely not like a 1 week visit kind of person. Yeah. As much as I love that, I prefer spending an extended amount of time in one place because you really get to know it. So that's why I was like 2 months, we're doing it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think if you're just like a tourist for like 7 days, you're not really in that place. It's like a museum. It's almost like you're looking at it from like a third person viewpoint. You don't really have the time to like get immersed.
Yeah, and like the family travels a lot too. Like they go all over Spain, and sometimes they take like a ferry down to Africa because it's like right there. And so I might end up doing that while I'm there. Just taking a day trip down.
That's gonna be so exciting.
Yeah,
that's adventure.
And even though like the family was like, oh yeah, like you can do whatever you want, and I was like, honestly, like I'm probably just gonna stay and hang out with you guys like, if you're okay with that, because I'd much rather like get to know you guys and get to know like more like the way of life than
you should take some cooking lessons.
Right? Oh my god. Well, they don't even cook anything, which is like insane. She told me part of the reason I don't have to worry about cooking is because they use this thing called a Thermomix. And
okay, I've never heard of this.
Yeah, exactly.
I have no idea where you're going.
It's like originally from Australia. I think it was made in Australia. Yeah. But it's basically like this contraption where like it does every kind of cooking. And so you like get the ingredients prepared and put in there, and then it just does everything for you. And
this is like futuristic,
right? Like it makes like soups and smoothies, and like it can bake things and steam things and creates like full meals out of these ingredients.
What does this thing look like? It's like an octopus.
Yeah, it looks like a giant blender kind of thing. Like, but it's not that big. Like it's probably no bigger than like your torso. Like, it's really not that big, but it's got all these, like, different settings, and it just cooks everything.
That's
and I was
wild.
just like, okay, like, sure. But, I mean, it's Mediterranean food, too, so it's,
it's like...
It's a lot less cooking
similar
involved, right?
Yeah. It's, like, fresher. So that's going to be really good food, too.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
The food in Europe is, like, so different than the food
Oh, my
here.
God. And I feel like...
It's fresh.
I'm probably not going to be this correct, but, like, I feel like I'm going to come back. And I'm going to be, like, glowing from the inside because of the food. I also tan very, very, very fast. Like, 5 minutes outside and I have a tan line. So spending all day on the beach and at the pool, I am going to be so dark when I get back.
Yeah. Oh, Malaga is, like friggin' beach weather, Mediterranean. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah, they're like, oh, yeah, it's, like, 80 degrees. Well, honestly, no, it's 20.
Is it humid from the...
I don't know. She didn't say anything about humid. She just said that it's warm. You know what? She did. Yeah,
you have experience. South Carolina is probably pretty humid.
Yeah, South Carolina.
So it's not a problem.
My first day in South Carolina, I felt like I was breathing water.
Yeah,
so like,
it's like thick.
I'm definitely not worried about it.
Yeah.
And it gets way hotter in South Carolina than it does, where they are in Spain. So, and she says things like when they talk about degrees. Yeah. They're Celsius. Oh. And so originally she was like, it's like 20, 30 degrees Celsius every day. And I was like, or no, she just said degrees. So she didn't say Celsius. And I was like, wait, it's not very warm.
Oh my God.
And so like now I have to do like the conversions in my head because when I have conversations with them, they talk about in completely different
metric system and Celsius, Fahrenheit,
and so like and now I'm like not even just converting Spanish in my head, I'm converting metric systems.
If I'm a big soccer guy, so I'm gonna say go to a soccer game while you.
Honestly,
are you going in the summer? Or are you going?
I'm going in the summer.
Oh, I don't know if they have soccer games in the summer.
July and August.
But if they do, the atmosphere is crazy, and the towns like gather. I bet you go with the family, honestly, to Malaga. And Malaga's a really good team.
They're like planning on going to concerts, and they do things with their family all the time. And this was like a fun fact that I learned about Spain because I taught my class, my second grade class about Spain. We're doing a world travelers thing. So we're learning about all these different countries. Okay. And so when we talked about Spain, I learned that Spain has more festivals than days of the year. Yeah.
That is so cool.
But it's insane. One of the,
how does that even work?
Like, I think they just, like, because all the different cities do festivals, like, every weekend, and so it's just, like, Spain is just so full of festivals. Yeah. They have one that's called La Tomatina. Yeah, and it's basically this giant tomato fight in the middle of the city, and there are just pools of tomato everywhere afterward, and it's like the city just...
Are you going to go to that?
I don't know. I don't think it happens when I'm there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's like, yes, I would definitely be there. Like, 100% I would be at that. Like, people are, like, wearing goggles, and there are trucks full of tomatoes. Insane.
They have Pamplona, too, the Running of the Bulls thing.
The Running with the Bulls. There's another one. I can never remember what it's called, but there's another one on April Fool's Day in a specific town where they dress up in, like, ancient military garb, like, vintage military garb. And they throw eggs and flour at each other.
I think I've actually heard of that. Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. I think I've actually hilarious because it's like
it's a lot of like
eggs like they're grenades.
Yeah, it's a lot of like throwing things.
So funny. Yeah. It's so great. Like, they just have tons of food fights.
I know there's one in Barcelona where they go out. I forget when it is, but they go out and they pick mushrooms. Like, all the kids go out and pick these wild mushrooms.
And it's like, that's a festival.
And that's festival.
That's a festival. Yeah. There's actually two, like, to the town that I'm going to be staying. There's a medieval arts festival that happens, wait for it, in the castle on the beach in the town.
Oh my gosh. Like, castle on the beach. You got me there.
Yeah. Like, I was just like, the actual medieval arts fair happens in the castle in this town.
That is so sick.
Yeah.
That is, you're going to have a blast there.
It's just going to be so terrible.
Oh I think are we running a little on time? Yeah, so it's like just about 1.
Oh, okay.
Should we wrap it up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on Owlcast. This has been Jazzi Mason. We would love to have you again. Honestly, like we got some great content in there. Right. But yeah, thanks guys for listening. Have a good one.